What's up, guys? This is the network back with another video, and today we are talking about how to get approved for a $50,000 business credit card with a company that's less than 2 years old. I know it sounds ambitious, but it's absolutely doable if you set things up the right way and take advantage of some strategies we're about to break down. Just keep in mind, everything we talk about is educational purposes only, guys. So with that being said, let's get into it. Well, before we get into it, you need to have an LLC already set up. If you don't have one, we can help you out with that. We have a service that not only sets up your LLC, but also adds all the necessary trade lines for you. That way you don't have to worry about this whole setup process, and we can even guarantee approval when we do the work. If you're interested, just hit us up on Discord. Let's get into it. If your company is less than 2 years old, you're going to have to be strategic about building your business credit profile from scratch. One of the first things you need is your DUNS number. You can get it for free from the D&B website. Make sure to list your projected annual income between $100,000 to $150,000 and specify that your business has at least 5 employees. This increases your chances when you start applying for vendor accounts later on. Once you've got that DUNS number locked in, it's time to set up some vendor accounts. The goal here is to establish trade lines that will report to business credit bureaus like D&B, Experian, and Equifax. Start with reliable companies like Uline, Granger, and Quill. These vendors are relatively easy to get approved for, especially when you keep your purchases above $50. Paying off invoices within 15 to 20 days will make a significant difference to your credit profile. You'll want to start with vendors that are known for being beginner-friendly and that consistently report to the bureaus. Start with Uline. They sell shipping, packaging, and industrial supplies. Make sure your first purchase is at least $50 to ensure it gets reported. Go to their website, add items to your cart, and during checkout, select Bill Me or Net 30. Call customer service after placing your order to make sure your EIN and DUNS number are correctly linked to your account. Next up is Granger. They offer industrial supplies, safety products, and tools. Again, aim for a purchase of at least $50 to trigger reporting. It's best to apply over the phone. Call their customer service and provide your business name, EIN, and DUNS number to make sure everything is linked properly. Quill is another great option. They supply office supplies, packaging materials, and cleaning products. Make at least a $50 purchase and be consistent with your monthly orders for the first 3 months. Add items to your cart and choose Bill Me during checkout. Regular purchases help establish that positive payment history. Summa Office Supplies is another one to consider. They offer general office supplies and business essentials. You'll need around $75 for your initial purchase to make sure it reports. Apply online and keep your business details consistent. Crown Office Supplies also works well for building business credit. There's a $99 annual fee, but once you're set up, make sure your first purchase is at least $50. Again, consistency is key here, so make sure your orders are regular. Gemplers is good for workwear, safety gear, and outdoor equipment. You'll need around $50 minimum to get that account reporting. Register on their site and select the Bill Me Later option. You're looking at an initial cost of around $500 to $800 to get these accounts set up, including the annual fee for Crown Office Supplies and your initial purchases from each vendor. Remember, these vendor accounts usually take 30 to 90 days to start showing up on your business credit report, so patience is key. After you've established around 5 to 8 vendor accounts that are consistently reporting positive payment history, you're ready to move on to revolving store credit accounts. You want to go for accounts with companies like Staples, Lowe's, Amazon, and Walmart. These accounts typically start showing up on your credit report within about 3 months if you're managing them properly. Now here's where we tie in the CPN. A lot of high-limit business credit cards are still going to check your personal credit as part of the approval process. This is where having a properly built CPN comes into play. If your CPN has a 700-plus credit score with some established trade lines, you can use it as a personal guarantor. That's going to drastically increase your chances of getting approved for cards like the Capital on Tap Business Credit Card or the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited. When applying, use your business name, EIN, and DUNS number as usual. But when they ask for a personal guarantor, that's when you enter your CPN information. Make sure your CPN profile matches your business profile. Same address, same phone number, same everything. This consistency prevents any red flags that could hold up your application. If you're using a shell corp that's been around for several years, you're essentially giving your business an instant credibility boost. You're no longer just a startup in the eyes of the lender. You're now an established business with a history, even if it wasn't active. That's why it's so crucial to make sure the shell corporation you acquire is clean. No previous debts, liens, or unresolved issues. When you're setting up your shell corp, make sure it's linked properly with your business credit profile and your CPN. You want to merge these elements seamlessly so that the lender sees a coherent, long-standing business operation. One of our clients came to us with a fresh LLC and a clean CPN. We helped them acquire a shell corporation that had been inactive but legally intact for about 6 years. After setting up vendor accounts and revolving credit lines, they leveraged the age profile of the shell corp to apply for a Capital One Spark Cash Plus card. Since the Shell Corp had history, the CPN had a 740 score and the vendor accounts were reporting positively, they got approved for a $50,000 limit right off the bat. That's the power of combining these strategies. You're essentially building a business credit profile that looks like it's been thriving for years, even if your actual operation started recently. A lot of people mess this up by applying too early or using mismatched information. Don't rush it. Build your vendor accounts, strengthen your CPN, and make sure your Shell Corporation's details are consistent with your current business profile. When you get this right, it works like a charm. If all of this sounds complicated or you just don't want to handle it yourself, hit us up on Discord. We can set up the LLC for you, build the business credit profile, add the trade lines, and secure a Shell Corp if necessary. Plus, when we handle it, we guarantee the approval because we know the process inside out. Alright, once you've got those vendor accounts reporting, you're ready to move on to the next step, which is getting your first set of business credit cards. These are essential because they're going to give you the revolving credit you need to make larger purchases, manage cash flow, and start building a credit profile that looks more substantial to lenders. Now, when you're just starting out and your business is less than 2 years old, you want to focus on business credit cards that are more lenient towards newer companies. The first card to consider is the Capital on Tap Business Credit Card. This one is great because it doesn't impact your personal credit when you apply, which is perfect if you're using a CPN as a personal guarantor. You can get up to a $50,000 limit depending on your business profile and creditworthiness. There's no annual fee, and you earn 1.5% cash back on every purchase. To apply, make sure your business profile is complete with your EIN, DUNS number, and consistent address information. The good thing here is that you don't need to be a sole proprietor. They prefer registered businesses. There's no upfront cost to apply, but keep in mind the APR ranges from 17.49% to 57.49% depending on your credit strength. Another solid option is the Capital One Spark Cash Plus. This card doesn't have a preset spending limit, which means your actual limit will adjust based on your payment history and credit profile. You'll need a good to excellent personal credit score, ideally around 740 plus, and strong business revenue helps a lot. The annual fee is $150, but it's refundable if you spend $150,000 or more within the year. One thing to remember is that you must pay the balance in full each month since it's a charge card. You earn unlimited 2% cash back on all purchases, which is great for everyday business expenses. If your profile is a bit stronger, you can go for the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited. This card is known for being flexible and offering up to a $25,000 starting limit. If your business profile is solid, you'll want to have a personal credit score of around 700 or higher. There's no annual fee and you earn 1.5% cash back on all purchases. The application process requires your EIN, DUNS number, and business bank statements, so make sure those are up to date. Chase does a hard pull on your personal credit, so make sure your CPN score is solid. For those looking to travel or get premium perks, the American Express Business Platinum Card is a powerful option. This card doesn't have a preset spending limit, which makes it adaptable based on your usage and payment history. It does come with a steep $695 annual fee, but the benefits are huge if you travel often. You'll earn 5 times points on flights and prepaid hotels through Amex Travel and 1.5 times points on purchases in key business categories. You'll need an excellent personal credit score, ideally around 740 plus, and it helps if your business revenue is consistent and substantial. Amex is pretty strict with approvals, so only go for this card if your CPN is properly built and aged. If you're still working on strengthening your profile, the NAV Prime card can be a good starter. This card is linked to your business bank account and adjusts your limit based on your cash flow. There's no personal credit check, making it a good option if your CPN isn't fully developed yet. You'll need a NAV Prime membership, which costs $49.99 per month, but the card itself doesn't have an annual fee. This card reports to major business credit bureaus, so it's great for building credit without the risk of personal liability. Another option if you're still building your profile is the First National Bank Business Edition Secured Visa. This card requires a security deposit equal to 110% of your desired credit limit. You can secure a limit from $2,000 to $100,000 depending on how much you deposit. There's a $39 annual fee, and the APR can be high, but it's a good way to build credit if your profile is still weak. Plus, your deposit earns interest, so it's not just sitting there unused. Let's break down the cost to get started with each of these cards. Capital on Tap Business Credit Card has no annual fee, so your initial investment is essentially zero besides any business purchases you make to start building credit. Capital One Spark. Cash Plus has a $150 annual fee, but if you spend $150,000 or more in a year, that fee gets refunded. So plan on that $150 as your initial investment. Chasing Business Unlimited has no annual fee, so the cost to get started is just whatever purchases you make. American Express Business Platinum has a $695 annual fee, so you're looking at a significant upfront cost. But if you're leveraging the travel perks and cashback, it can pay for itself. NAV Prime card requires a $49.99 per month membership fee, so over a year you're looking at about $600 just for maintaining access to the card. First National Bank Business Edition Secured Visa requires a security deposit, so if you're aiming for a $10,000 limit, that's about $11,000 upfront, plus the $39 annual fee. If you're just getting started and want to minimize your upfront cost, go with the Capital on Tap or Chase Inc. Business Unlimited. Once your profile is stronger and your revenue is consistent, you can upgrade to higher tier cards like the American Express Business Platinum. Adding it all up, the initial investment for these cards can range from $0 if you're going with no fee options, up to around $800 if you're securing a more premium card with upfront fees. If you're doing a secured card for higher limits, that could be an additional $11,000 depending on how high you want your limit to be. You can absolutely mix and match these cards based on your current business profile and credit strength. Start with what's accessible and build your way up as your business credit improves. If you don't want to deal with the hassle of setting up these cards and managing the applications, hit us up on Discord. We'll handle the entire process for you, including the LLC setup, adding trade lines, and managing the credit profile to ensure you get approved for the highest limits possible. Alright, so once you've got those vendor accounts set up and reporting, and you've moved on to getting your first few business credit cards, you're probably wondering how long it's going to take to actually reach that $50,000 credit limit. And guys, it's important to understand that building business credit is a process, not something that happens overnight. Realistically, if you follow the steps correctly and make sure your payments are on time, you could start seeing significant credit increases within about 6 to 9 months. Here's how it typically works. Start with your vendor accounts. After about 3 months of consistent on-time payments, those accounts will begin reporting to the business credit bureaus. That's when you move on to revolving store credit accounts. Once those accounts are established and reporting positively, your profile is going to look a lot more credible. At this point, you'll probably have around 5 to 8 vendor accounts and at least 2 revolving credit accounts. That combination starts to establish a strong foundation. When lenders see that your business has a track record of handling credit responsibly, that's when they start considering higher limits. When you first get approved for business credit cards, don't expect to hit that $50,000 limit right away. Most likely, you'll start with limits ranging from $5,000 to $15,000 depending on the card and your profile strength. The trick here is to use the credit responsibly. Make regular purchases, pay off your balance early, and never max out your limit. Utilization is key. Try to keep it below 30% to show lenders that you're not overextending. As you continue using the cards responsibly and showing consistent revenue, most cards will automatically increase your limit every 6 months. For example, if you start with a $10,000 limit on the Capital on Tap card and keep it paid down consistently, they might bump that up to $20,000 within the first year. If you're using a shell corporation that already has some age, that could fast track the process a bit because the business itself appears more established. Combining that age profile with your well-built CPN as a guarantor can really put you in a good position. I've seen clients go from an initial $15,000 limit to a $50,000 limit within a year just by keeping their utilization low and always paying on time. One of the fastest ways to increase your limits is to ask for a credit line increase every 6 months. If you've been using the card responsibly, most issuers are open to raising your limit, especially if you've shown growth in your business revenue. When you're requesting a higher limit, be prepared to show updated financials like bank statements or profit and loss reports. If you're managing multiple cards, another strategy is to consolidate your spending onto 1 or 2 cards. This shows a concentrated credit use pattern, which can sometimes prompt lenders to increase your limit faster than if you're spreading your purchases too thin across multiple accounts. Guys, you also want to make sure you're diversifying the types of credit you're using. Once you've got your revolving credit established, look into adding a fleet credit card if your business involves any kind of transportation or logistics. Cards from Shell, Chevron, or ExxonMobil can give you an extra line of credit that also reports positively, especially if you're using them regularly for fuel or maintenance. If you're aiming for that $50,000 mark, you really want to focus on combining the right cards. Start with cards that are a bit easier to get approved for, like the Capital on Tap or the Nav Prime card. As your profile strengthens, move up to the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited or the Capital One Spark Cash Plus. Once your business profile and your CPN are solid, that's when you go for the top tier cards like the Amex Business Platinum. A lot of it comes down to your overall business credit mix. Lenders want to see that you can handle different types of credit responsibly. That's why starting with vendor accounts, then moving to revolving credit, and finally incorporating fleet credit makes your profile look more balanced and mature. Don't forget, the biggest mistake people make is rushing the process. Applying for high-limit cards too early can lead to denials, which put hard inquiries on your credit report. Those hard pulls can slow you down and make it harder to get approved later. Be strategic about when you apply and make sure your profile looks solid before going for the big limits. If you're doing this right, you could realistically hit that $50,000 limit within 12 to 18 months. It all depends on how well you manage your accounts, keep your utilization low, and maintain consistent payments. The key is to build slowly and let your credit history mature. If you want to speed up the process or just have the whole thing handled professionally, hit us up on Discord. We can take care of setting up the LLC, adding the right trade lines, building the credit profile, and managing the whole application process to ensure you get the highest limits possible. All right, that's it for today's breakdown. Remember, this is for educational purposes only. If you've got any questions or need personalized help, reach out to us on Discord. We'll catch you in the next video.